Let's make a lumber rack. Hi, I'm AJ and you're watching Woodified. The lumber rack is made from 2x4s and EMT conduit. I cut the conduit into 16-inch sections using my angle grinder. Once the pieces were cut, I used the side of the angle grinder disc to deburr the ends of the conduit. You could also use a belt sander or a disc sander. I bought 8-foot 2x4 studs and cut them in half. I clamped the 2x4s together so I could lay out the holes for the conduit racks. I used Jay Bates' free plans. Check out his video. I put a link to his video in the description below. I measured up from the bottom 4 inches and then every 11 inches thereafter. I used a marking gauge to mark the center of the 2x4s. Then I came back with a punch to give my spade bit a nice starting divot to keep it from wandering around. I used my protractor to set a 10-degree angle. My drill press is too small to fit a 2x4 on its edge, angled at 10 degrees. That big old spade bit in it. So I moved the drill press table out of the way and I rigged up this quick and dirty jig with some scrap wood, some hot glue, and some clamps. I thought if I could get the holes started straight that I could finish them off by hand and wouldn't have any problems. I'm using 3/4-inch EMT conduit for the racks. A 10-foot length of conduit cost me $9.99 plus tax, and I bought 3 pieces. For some reason, I wasn't paying enough attention to all the directions that the spade bit could wander. It could go forward, back, left, right. As a result, I started to drill out the side of the 2x4. Oops. Turns out the spade bit will not guide itself if you start the hole with your drill press. With that lesson learnt, I continued the boring work. I did think to add a green piece of tape as a depth gauge. The holes are 3 inches in depth into the edge of the 2x4. The conduit is 3/4-inch conduit, however the outer diameter is just under 15/16 of an inch. I was able to find a 15/16 inch spade bit at my local hardware store. Marking the stud locations on the wall, that's my worst job. I hate marking the stud locations. I usually get it wrong. Some of the holes I drilled into the 2x4s were slightly off, but it's not bad enough to make much of a difference. When I drilled the holes, I was consistently off in the same direction, so it worked out pretty good. Here I'm measuring the location of the 2 lag bolts that will go into each of the 2x4s. Next, I drilled the pilot holes for the bolts. My bit was not long enough to drill through the 2x4 and all the way into the stud in the wall. So what I did is I had to move the 2x4 out of the way and continue to drill the pilot holes. My shop is a small shop, so I decided to hang the lumber rack up on the wall. This way I have room underneath for some tools. I also have some room for a 4-foot wide sheet of plywood. Here I've drilled my pilot hole into a drywall screw. So I got rid of that screw, moved it down, and then finished my pilot hole, and then screwed in the lag bolt. In addition to the 2 lag bolts in each of the 2x4s, I also went and put screws into each hole before putting the conduit in place. You may have noticed I was using my cordless drill to put the screws in place. However, for the lag bolts, I switched over to my impact driver to drive those lag bolts into place. If you don't have an impact driver, a socket wrench would work to get those lag bolts installed. I bought my first impact driver when I was building my privacy fence. I'll put a link to my fence build project in the description below. Please check it out. Here you can see the strength test of my lumber rack. I used a mallet to tap the conduit into the holes. You'll notice one or two of the pipes are a little crooked. That's because I drilled out the side of the 2x4 a little bit. Once all the pipes were installed, I started loading up the lumber rack. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and if this is your first time here, please subscribe and hit the bell notification button so you don't miss any of my videos. Thanks for watching.